Welcome friends, long time no see. So I know we've all seen that video going around a few weeks back on social media of that guy saying Ichigo isn't a swordsman, just a strong guy carrying a sword. Well, as you've already seen once, I love debunking myths about Bleach, so let's do this one for our boy Ichigo. Just so we're clear, the claim is Ichigo has no sword technique. Well, if you watched my previous video about swordsmanship in Bleach, you know that criticism has absolutely no merit. But I'd like to take a stab at this anyway. I'll briefly cover 3 examples of Ichigo displaying actual sword technique, skill, and competency. Those examples are the Ikkaku fight, the end of the Ginjo fight, and everyone's favorite, the Byakuya fight. So, let's get into the video. Number 1. Ikkaku. In this fight, Ichigo shows us how he approaches melee battles from this point forward in the series when he's fighting like himself. Ichigo's MO is usually to open with a power strike to figure out his opponent. If they show to be comparable to Ichigo, Ichigo will fall into a defensive shell and seek to kind of gain an opponent's timing until he can figure out their rhythm and break them down with a strike that usually disables them. This is seen in the Ikkaku fight, his first real fight after his training with Urahara. When fighting Ikkaku himself states that in sword skill, Ichigo is close to his level. Not strength, not Ryatsu, not speed, but skill. And to compound this fact, Ikkaku triples down by stating it's not luck and that Ichigo isn't just swinging his sword around like a berserker. Ikkaku even goes as far as to ask Ichigo who his master is, and Ichigo explains Kisuke showed him the basics of swordplay. Ikkaku is a Soul Reaper who is at the youngest possible downplay 150 years old, in which that time he was a Ronin looking for death matches in the worst parts of the Rukongai. But let's look at the choreography just so people can't say we're solely relying on statements. In this fight with Ikkaku, we see Ichigo start off by countering a counter from Ichigo's initial response to Ikkaku's opening strike. Complicated, I know, but that is important. This complicated exchange ends with trading wounds. Ichigo quickly has to adjust to the change in weapons from Ikkaku and deflects every single attack from Ikkaku's spear. Fans and haters alike never fully appreciate how difficult that actually is. An opponent switches from a mid-range dual wield to long-range spear that breaks apart into a 3-part staff is terrifyingly difficult to adjust to. Then Ikkaku lands a debilitating strike to Ichigo's sword hand after surprising Ichigo with the 3-part staff. And Ichigo is still capable of finishing Ikkaku not with power, but a finesse blow to debilitate Ikkaku completely without killing him. Even more impressive is after that initial strike from the 3-part staff, Ikkaku never lands a blow again. Every attack, combo, or misdirection after the spear breaks apart is blocked, parried, countered, or caught by Ichigo. Ikkaku even explains that a novice fighter could never adjust or read movements from this weapon. And this is only Arc 2 and the first arc that Ichigo actually has real training in. Ichigo is not a novice swordsman. Fight 2. Ginjo. Let's hop over to the Ginjo fight, because Ichigo cleans Ginjo up with the sickest riposte counter thrust ever. At the end of the Ginjo Ichigo fight, both men clash blades. Now in the manga it's not as clear as it is in the anime on who initiates the parry, but the anime makes it clear it's Ginjo. They are engaged with the left sides of their blades. Ginjo uses the parry to go for a downward chop, but Ichigo, recognizing he has an advantage, takes the opening to utterly embarrass Ginjo. I'll explain how. Ginjo has a Zweihander, which against Ichigo's Nodachi gives Ginjo the length and weight advantage. Ichigo has the advantage in maneuverability and speed, that is, unless Ginjo grabs what would be, considered the ricasso of his sword, which would then give Ginjo that advantage. The second part that needs to be noted here is Ichigo sees Ginjo coming in with a single arm riposte. Ichigo uses his advantage in speed and maneuverability and beats Ginjo's riposte by attacking with a thrust. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. The third factor, it gets worse for Ginjo. Ichigo, to guarantee his thrust will maximize his effectiveness in both power and precision, rotates the hilt of his Zanpakuto on the Z-axis and drives the point into the flat of Ginjo's sword, snapping it in two and ending Ginjo's life. This is important because when you turn a sword on its Z-axis, which means you just rotate it, it covers more surface area. Now that it's horizontal, as opposed to being vertical, it can now pierce and break the flat side of Ginjo's blade. Ichigo, with one move off of a repost, embarrasses Ginjo in sword skill. Byakuya. One of the main claims against Ichigo's sword skill is that he just spams Getsuga Tensho and Unga his way through fights. Let's look at another fight where he faces a sword master and can't use Getsuga Tensho. Ichigo opens this fight by blocking everything Byakuya throws at him and matches him sword swing for sword swing and hand adjustment for hand adjustment. Most of this reactionary deflection was learned from sparring with Zangetsu, who we know has the knowledge and skill of the immortal Quincy King. But we see Byakuya compliment Ichigo's sword skill, and Ichigo remarks that in the time that they've been clashing with strictly swordplay, that Byakuya hasn't even nicked him. Just for reference, multiple battles have started and concluded in this same amount of time, like Soifone and Yoriichi and Shuhei vs Yumachika, Tosin and Sajin vs Kenpachi. Then, once both combatants use Bankai, Ichigo goes and performs water-breathing 11th form Dead Calm. It always bothered me that for the longest, this was considered just a speed feat for Ichigo in this scene, but for Giyu in Demon Slayer, this is considered superior swordsmanship. It seems like a double standard for me, and I think it has to do with people saying that the technique has a name. Speaking of speed, from this point on, Ichigo will not only be no longer faster than Byakuya in this fight, but will constantly be slowing down until he's slower than Byakuya from the weight of his own Bankai crushing him. So anything Ichigo does next is not speed or power, but actual swordplay. Ichigo continues to match Byakuya thrust for thrust and slash for slash, and neither duelist has an upper hand to the point they trade wounds. Then, using superior speed, Byakuya blitzes Ichigo, but his combination is actually parried downward, and Ichigo is able to briefly stifle Byakuya's combo, but Byakuya uses his battle experience to overcome Ichigo. Not with sword skill, but a combination of his Bankai and Kido to finally put a stop to him. At no point could Ichigo rely on his superior power to win him this duel, nor could he rely on the Getsuga Tensho because he did not have access to it in his Bankai state yet. Put some respect on the kid who took on a swordsman with more experience in their pinky than others or other series get in their entire lives. Well, that's all, folks. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all of you who still watch these videos, like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it, and I appreciate your loyalty. Please, if you could join the Discord so we can talk, have more of these discussions, and I'll see you guys in the future. Have a good day. Bye.